guys, and welcome to day 13 in my countdown to The Walking Dead season 7 premiere. So today I'm going to be talking about season 2. I'm really excited. I actually really love season 2, and I know that most people do not like it. Most people are not big fans of season 2. I mean, a lot of people criticize it because they think not a ton happens, but for me, I definitely feel like a lot happens in this. Some of the key moments in The Walking Dead happen in season 2. I guess there are other slower moving episodes, but I definitely think that season 2 is just, I love it. But I'm a big fan of the Green family. I like Herschel, I like Maggie, I like Beth. So maybe that may be why I'm, kind of a little into that season a lot. So like I said in the season 1 spotlight, a lot of season 1 I feel like centered around the idea of hope, and in this particular season I think that we kind of went on this journey with these characters to losing hope and not having any hope anymore. The mental state of the characters at the end of the season towards, in relation to the mental state of the characters towards the beginning of the season, I think are really different because of a lot of experiences that occurred in season 2. So I think we start off actually with a big loss of hope, given that there's 2 kids in the group, and they both kind of go through a very horrible experience. Carl gets shot and Sophia goes missing, and that is just like a blow to everyone because you got to protect the kids. That's kind of the idea of surviving in this apocalypse, and it's just kind of sad that that's kind of how this season started. But, I feel like the idea of the farm was, an idea of kind of clinging on to something that was. When we went to the CDC in season 1, we saw that there's kind of not a whole lot of hope of a cure, but I think the farm represented a hope of surviving in this world more than, getting torn apart and eaten alive. We can live, we can survive. Was it naive? Yeah, in a sense. Can you imagine, how lucky was Herschel and his family that Rick's group stumbled upon their farm and not some other group? Really lucky. And I think that, after Carl had his surgery and got a little bit better, they started to have a little bit of hope. And there was, we're following Daryl, searching for Sophia. There's more hope that she's alive and around and everything's going to kind of be okay. Now, of course, that's not a very interesting, season if that's how things ended up. We live at the farm and everybody lives happily ever after and everything's great. That probably wouldn't be the best season, but I think that that's kind of what they were trying to convey with the first half of the season. Obviously, there was a huge reality check for a lot of characters within the mid-season finale where Sophia comes out of the barn. I think, there's just the traumatic moment of that's she was in there all along. I think Rick kind of had a moment there of realizing that, maybe not everything is going to be okay. I think Herschel in particular and the Green family, but definitely Herschel, we saw that he finally realized that they were dead. I think when Shane shot the walker twice before even releasing the barn doors, I think that was the moment when Herschel kind of realized that these people are not, they can't be saved. And everybody just has some big revelation, I feel like, in the season that, you know, maybe things are not going to be as normal as they were before the apocalypse. And yeah, I just think that Sophia coming out of the barn was just the literal representation of a loss of hope. Another thing that I want to talk about in season 2 is the bar scene and Dave and Tony. I think this was a little introduction for season 3. I think that this was kind of trying, a lot of the writing with Dave and Tony was trying to just give us a little glimpse that maybe we should fear people more than we should really fear the walkers. You know, in season 2, we're still thinking of the walkers as the biggest threat in this world. And though there's issues with Shane and Rick and stuff, it's still the walkers that are the biggest threat. And I think Dave and Tony coming into the bar was just the epitome of like, oh my God, all right, there are some bad people out there. Which kind of brings me to one of my favorite parts of season 2, and that was the whole Randall dilemma. I'm a big fan of moral dilemmas and seeing everybody's side of an argument and stuff like that. And the whole thing with Randall, where everybody's trying to decide, you know, should he live? Should he die? You know, what should happen with this kid? Should they release him? There were so many good arguments for every single part of that. I mean, I just thought that there were so many people, and I loved Dale trying so desperately to save him. You know, I really do think that Dale was kind of the last person that really was clinging on to the world that was. Whether that's smart or not is, you know, that's up to interpretation. However, I do believe that Dale definitely, you know, they needed Dale. They needed Dale around to keep a little bit of humanity within the group. And, you know, obviously he didn't make it. And that whole episode just, you know, really kind of a crazy esude that really kind of did a 180 and ended up killing the guy who was such an advocate for life. And, you know, that's what The Walking Dead does. It just rips your heart out and stomps on it. So obviously another big aspect of season 2 was the whole Rick and Shane rift. And these two, I loved the dynamic between the two of them. It's funny because as you're watching season 2, not going back, but as you're watching season 2, most people are very Team Rick, though I'm sure that there's plenty of people who are Team Shane. But you know, you're watching it for the most part and you're thinking, God, you know, Shane is off, you know, but go back and watch it. Shane's a little delusional when it comes to Lori and Carl. He's a little psycho in that area. When it comes to kind of some of the other points that he made in that season, it's like looking at Rick now. It's crazy. Like, I feel like Rick became Shane through whatever happened. It's insane. So, you know, Rick was really trying to make the farm work. Rick was so desperately trying to hang on to the idea that he could have a family and live on this farm and everything and just live his life and be happy. And I think Shane, you know, a lot of occasions said, it's absolutely ridiculous. You're risking all of our lives to find a little girl that's probably dead. And to Shane's, you know, benefit, she was. And, you know, all of this stuff was kind of a really kind of wake-up call as we're finding out, you know, that the farm isn't safe, and Sophia actually, you know, she didn't make it. And Shane had some good points, is what I'm trying to say. However, you know, within that final confrontation with Rick, I feel like you could tell that Shane was completely off his rocker. He had the focus of just getting Lori and Carl and not really caring about, you know, anything else. And that's a danger to the group. And you know, I was definitely Team Rick through the whole process. I still am, even though I do think that Shane was kind of right about a couple things. I absolutely think that Shane was a danger to everyone. You know, he killed Otis, and who knows who else he would kill. And to get what he wanted, it was a very dangerous situation. And I absolutely loved the scene. I still do love the scene where Rick finally kills Shane. It's absolutely insane. So obviously there were a lot of things happening in the second season that kind of spurred everybody to have a lot of hope, and then there were a lot of very significant moments that just tore all that hope down. I think the burning of the farm and the finale, you know, obviously was just a huge blow to everyone involved. You know, Andrea goes missing, and, you know, Patricia and Jimmy died, and Patricia was like torn out of Beth's arms. It was a horrible thing to watch. And, you know, I think that the ending of the season was just a big old metaphor for the fact that, like, this is, you know, you were kind of living in a delusion. And I think Rick got the message between the Shane confrontation and losing the farm. And, you know, not a lot of people were a big fan of the Ricktatorship, which was kind of born in that final speech of season 2. But I definitely, I don't know, I really kind of saw where he was coming from. You know, it seemed like a lot of times everybody looked to Rick to make the tough decisions, and then when he did, they complained about it and were not happy. And, you know, it wasn't his best leader role, I feel like, throughout the evolution of Rick Grimes, but I do think that he had a point, and something needed to change in the way that things were going with this group. You know, everybody was just so, you know, kind of wanting to be in the delusion with Rick. Not every single character, but I would say a good portion of them throughout that season. And we are now at the end of the season, and it's not good. Like, things are not okay. We lost our home, we lost everything, and it's kind of a really sad and somber feeling going into season 3. It's not really a great, happy sort of a feeling. So now I'm going to talk about my favorite episode, the most defining moment, and the MVP of season 2. I'm going to do this with all of my season spotlights, so let's get into it. All right, so my favorite episode of season 2, I mentioned it and talked about it a bit already, and that is Judge, Jury, and Executioner. I think as a whole, that episode, there were, I think, better moments in other episodes, but I think as a whole, that episode was really the epitome of what season 2 was all about. And I loved the dynamic of Dale trying to save Randall, which, by the way, for the record, I don't think that Randall was a good guy. We never really found out, but my gut instinct whenever I go back and watch season 2, I didn't trust him, and I think him dying was probably for the best, to be honest. But that whole episode where you think you know who's the judge and who's the jury and who's the executioner, for Randall, it kind of turned out to be about Dale the whole time, where, you know, I would say like the jury was everyone when they found Dale. The judge, in a sense, was Herschel, because he, you know, kind of was the one who stated that Dale couldn't be saved with his injuries. And then the executioner was Daryl. And I love that moment where Rick aims his gun and he just can't do it, and Daryl steps up to the plate, kind of as if to say, like, you don't have to do all of this. You don't have to do all of this by yourself. And I just think that the whole episode is just beyond brilliant and just a great showing of the writing of the show. So my MVP for this season is the one and only Daryl Dixon. I picked Daryl for this season because, you know, if you weren't a Daryl Dixon fan from season 1, you definitely were in season 2. You know, Chupacabra was, you know, just a great showing of Daryl and Merle in a sense. The fact that he wouldn't, you know, stop looking for Sophia and had this great bond with Carol developing in that season, you know, I just think, and like I said, he stepped up with the whole Dale thing. I think that Daryl for sure was the MVP of season 2. And the most defining moment for season 2, it was, I could not decide. Ugh, it was really hard. Very just, you know, runner up with Sophia coming out of the barn, just to put that out there. But I don't think I could really pick anything other than Rick killing Shane. I think that whole scene is beautifully done. It is such a huge turning point for Rick as a character, and just the entire scene, it gives me chills every single time that I watch it. It's just such a pivotal moment for the show, for Rick, you know, and inadvertently kind of all of the characters involved. You know, this is a point where he killed his best friend and he didn't even want to, but it's what this world has made him do. And that's kind of the whole point, right? You know, this world has turned Rick into, you know, something different than what he once was. And that's the theme of season 2. You know, we're turning we're seeing these characters turn themselves into something that they, you know, very different than what they once were before the apocalypse happened. Whereas in season 1, you know, they're really trying to cling on to everything that they once were. I think that scene in general was just absolutely amazing. I loved it so much, and I just think, I don't know. I just think that it's absolutely the, you know, most defining moment of season 2. So there you go, guys. That was my season 2 spotlight. Come back tomorrow and see what new video I will have for you for the countdown to the season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.